Okay, we are officially started now. I may have had a few other things to say beforehand. It's the LaCroix talking. Introduce yourself in the chat as we're getting started. I would love for you to share where you're from, like where you live, where you're hailing from this evening. And my favorite question to ask women is, what is your favorite body part? So add it to the chat. The faces already are like, huh? Your favorite body parts and where you are from. Drop it in the chat. I hope there's not a lot of thinking that has to go into this. I am not going to manage the chat tonight because I have undiagnosed ADHD and I cannot do two things at once. I mean, neurologically, that's accurate. You can't multitask, but legitimately, I also can't do two things. So Stephanie Porter, I just made you the co-host. You can welcome in anybody that joins us a little bit later. I'm going to really quickly introduce you to a couple of people that are on our team tonight that wanted to join in. And as I do that, I also want to say we are recording the session for tonight because there are some people who wanted to be here but couldn't. And so we're going to share this recording with them later. So, you know, just make funny faces at different points throughout so that people who can't be here live and get the chat feature can at least get some funny faces or some, you know, additional enjoyment, entertainment factor from you all. So let me introduce you to our team really quick. Stephanie Porter is in the gorgeous hat right there. Peace. She is our director of coaching, and you're going to get to hear from her in a little bit about her own journey in coaching, but she is the master behind leading all of our coaches. And then we've got a couple of coaches that are here tonight with us. First one is Michelle Barnes, who's the top left of my screen. I don't know where she's at in your Zoom room. Michelle lives in Florida and is actually the newest person on our team, which I'm so happy about. But she's an old pro, not old, just a pro when it comes to distinction. Language matters. When it comes to people development and all that. So we're super excited and grateful to have her on our team. And Priscilla Batista Brown is also here tonight. She is currently coaching a group of women, and she is my Puerto Rican sister. I have a Puerto Rican husband, and I like to just call myself half Puerto Rican in the belief that two become one. And so Priscilla is legitimately Puerto Rican. So I like to say that she's my Puerto Rican sister because
I am always.
we share something Puerto Rican about us. So that's our team. We've got a number of other coaches that are on our team that couldn't be here tonight, but I wanted to introduce you to these lovely ladies. And they would be great to hit up in the chat if you have any questions or, you know, want to follow up with them specifically about anything. So as we get started here, I would love for you to drop into the chat, what is one question that you have about one curiosity point that you have about our coaching groups, or something that you're like, I'm really here tonight because I'm hoping to get answered this question, you know, or I want to figure this thing out. So if you would, I'm gonna pay attention to the chat for a hot second, and I would love for you to add what's a question that you have or something that you are curious about, so that I can make sure that at some point in the next hour, we can respond to that. Welcome, Carmen. Great to see you.
I also want to talk about these body parts.
Oh, I don't know if we have time to talk about all the body parts.
I mean, I'll go quickly, but it's intriguing to me that Carrie-Ann likes her eyebrows. I love that. Let me see your best eyebrow move. What you got over there? Oh, a whole eyebrow raise. I love it. And then Michelle from Claremont, her favorite body part is her feet, which I knew. So these are like the most unique answers I think I've ever heard. And I love it so much.
I'm really appreciating the butt, Priscilla.
And then hands. I see hands. I missed the butt. The peach. I get it.
Listen, I have to be like something about my Boricuaness has to be good, you know? So my booty.
All right, no questions yet. Nothing is coming in on the chat. So we could talk about body parts all night, but I don't think that's why you're here. So welcome, Brianna.
Hello.
Priscilla, Brianna, you're here together.
Hello.
Y'all met in real life a couple weeks ago. So good to see
you. Right. Yes. Ah, I'm so happy you're here.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to bounce off of the chat because I can't pay attention to it. But if there is something, if there's a question that you have got or a curiosity point that you are joining tonight hoping to have an answer to, please add it. We will do our very best to answer that tonight and make sure that we make good use of your time. So cheers. I'm glad you're here. I gotta take a sip. So one of the things that is distinctive and very important to us in our coaching is that coaching happens best in relationship. That transformation happens best in relationship. That we become more of our whole self in relationship with each other. And I think it happens in the company of warrior women. And so even being here tonight, you are seeing faces on your screen that you've never seen before. And there's already a little bit of synergy, a little bit of connection points, a little bit of like, you know, this person, or we're from the same place, or you also have a similar body part that you love. And there's this connection point that happens. And so one of the things that will always blow my mind, and I will be so very grateful for, is that in a very short period of time, in the 6 months of our coaching groups, strangers become sisters. And I experienced another taste of this in real life last month, actually in Orlando, Florida. I was with Brianna and I was with Priscilla, and Michelle was supposed to be there, but she was sick, stupid sicknesses. And in the course of 2 hours, 6 women who did not know each other prior to a dinner felt and experienced a moment of sisterhood. And I know that no matter if your relational world is overflowingly full or if it feels really absent and hollow, that transformation happens best in relationship. And that is something that you experience in our groups. And so I am hoping that even in the course of this hour that we spend together tonight, that there will be more tastes of that. We told you we're going to give you a taste of our coaching groups. And so it starts with body parts. It starts with sharing your favorite beverage, but it goes much deeper than that. And it is part of the transformative journey. So I wanted to first introduce myself because most of you all I don't know very well, or I'm just seeing your face and your names for the very first time. So my name is April Diaz. I'm the founder and CEO of Azer & Co. And we just celebrated our 4th birthday. And I never imagined that I would launch a company that was specifically for women. And through a much longer story that we can have over cocktails at our retreat in September, perhaps, it became really clear that my whole life had merged to this point of starting this community, this company of warrior women. And for me, with coaching specifically, I experienced coaching for the very first time almost 2 decades ago. And I got a year of coaching with one of the pioneers in the coaching world. And he literally shifted the trajectory of my life and my leadership. And I have told him, his name is Dr. Jack Groppel. And I have told Jack, even as of a few days ago, I would not be who I am, and I would not be in the place that I am were it not for that coaching that I had with him in a season and a time of my life when honestly, I didn't even know that I needed anything. I didn't even realize how much more was within me that he helped to unlock. And so Jack's coaching with me 20 years ago is actually the foundation of everything that we do in this company of warrior women. Fast forward about 11 years ago, I experienced coaching again with another one of the leaders of coaching globally, legitimately. His name is Hendry Kotseya. And Hendry walked me in a season where I was experiencing the beginning of a transition. And I quite honestly did not have an imagination for what else was possible in my life and in my leadership. And I asked him to walk me through a guided process to guide me in a journey to becoming more of my whole self. I didn't have that language back then, but to guide me more into my whole self and to help me imagine what else was possible for my life and for my leadership. And that prompted me to get certified as a coach over a decade ago now. And in the last decade, I've coached well over 1,000 people, predominantly women. And these leaders that I have coached have shown me how much more is possible when we invest in ourselves. When we say yes to our whole self, even if we feel like we're doing pretty good, the best leaders and the best people that I know are people who are deliberately and intentionally asking others into their life and asking them what else is possible. What do you see in me? How is it that I can continue to transform to become the whole person that I was created to be? And that became really the foundation and the impetus for starting Azar & Co. I see women, I have worked with women for the last 20 years in various capacities. And I have seen that women, when we invest in ourselves, first of all, it doesn't just transform you, it transforms your family and your community and your company and the whole freaking world. It just does. Like, that's who we are. And that's what we do, is we take what is given to us and multiply it in every other space that we set our feet. And so for me, the work that we do here is all about helping you become your whole self. It's not that wholeness is not a destination. It's not an end result. But it is a lifelong journey that you intentionally, deliberately set your feet on to move more into who you have been made to be and to do all that you've been created to do in this world. So that's a snapshot of my story. I've taken all of that I've done in every space that I have worked, and I'm almost 44 years old. I literally have done my best to consolidate and distill everything that has happened up until now in my life and my story into what it is that we do in these 6 month groups. And I'm so freaking proud of it. And I am so excited to invite you to be a part of it for these next 6 months, because I think what's on the other side of it for you could honestly change your life and the trajectory of your life. So with all that said, all of the fun, high stuff, I next want to make a really honest confession. And I don't like to be vulnerable. It's like, feels like my kryptonite a lot of times. But I teased in the beginning that Caitlin and I came back from the great state of Florida, where Michelle and Brianna and Priscilla all live. And I got sick. And I've been back now for 2 weeks, and I have been really sick for the last 2 weeks. I'm feeling great at the moment because I'm with you all. But honestly, like, I've been super, super, super sick. And there's a distinct possibility I'll crash after this time. And I say that because I told Stephanie last night, part of what I love and hate about this work that we do, this wholeness work, is that I have to freaking practice what I preach. And so I am not prepared for this in the way that I would love to be prepared. And specifically, I would love to have a beautiful slide deck to show you all for the next 50 minutes about what all of our groups do. But my capacity has been significantly ratcheted down in the last 2 weeks. And I have been very focused on recovery and of taking care of my body and of listening to her well. And so I hate that we're on like a call like this, where I like have all of you here and I don't feel like I can show you my best self, but I'm committed to being my whole self, which looks like the honesty of, I have felt like shit most days for the last 14 days, and it's been really sucky. So with that in mind, I would have a really great slide to transfer to if I were feeling better. But instead, I want to invite you to a couple of specific ways for you to make the most of tonight. If you like taking notes, you can take notes here. I'm an auditory person, so I want to be able to listen. So there's a couple of things that I would tell you that are really important for you to make the most of this webinar. There's a phrase that we use in coaching all the time that is participation equals value. I wanted to be a math teacher in high school, and that's not necessarily a math equation, but it's a bit of a formula, is that the way that you participate both tonight, but also in coaching, gives you the value that you receive. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of how you can participate, how you can engage well for the next few minutes. First of all, is I want you to activate your curiosity. I want for you to be really thoughtful and to be critical in a good way around What are you here for? Like, what do you long for? What would you want to experience in coaching? Why did you say yes to this tonight? And why are you thinking about even joining a group? Your curiosity is there for a reason, and we want to both honor that and we want to listen to it with you. So activate your curiosity. Second way you can participate is give us your undivided attention. Give each other your undivided attention. We live in a freaking fragmented world where you are here, there, and everywhere, and we've got all the tabs open, and there are ways that we're distracted with our phones and what's going on in the background and who's yelling at us from the other room. So I want to invite you to give us your undivided attention, to put away the distractions and be here now. This is the only moment that you've got that we're promised, right? Is this moment right here. So however you can best do that, give your undivided attention. Third thing that I would encourage you to do to participate well is to engage in the chat. My chat right now says there's 12 unread messages because I've hidden them off my screen, and I love that. I would love to see 100. But that's a great way to participate, to ask your questions, to underscore what's important to you, to share something that you hear that resonates or something that you hear that doesn't make sense to you. Really, the secret sauce to our coaching groups is the sisterhood. It's the connection. And so again, faces on a screen are great. I'm glad we're in video and not like just on a phone call or on a text, but however you can engage in that space will help elevate the value for yourself. And the last thing I would encourage you to do is to ask that question, whatever that question is for you. Even if you think it sounds dumb, even if you're like, I'm sure it's on the website, or I bet there was an email that said this before. If you have a question, we want you to answer it or ask it, and we will do our best with no BS to answer your questions. All right. Make sense? Thumbs up, hearts. Good. Awesome. Thank you. That's good participation. All right. Well, one of the things that we said we would promise you that we would do is we would give you an inside look and an experience into our coaching groups. And so I'm going to invite you now to do something with us that we do at the beginning of every single session. And that is a centering exercise. Because it is now 5:20 on the West Coast. I don't know what time it is in your time zone, but I know that we are across time zones and into the Dominican Republic even. And so I don't know, it's late where you all are, and it's been a day. And so I want to invite you to center down into yourself, and I'm going to lead you through a centering exercise, if that is okay. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like to invite you to do is to gently close your eyes. I'd like you to place one hand over your heart and one hand on your belly. And I want you to draw your attention to your breathing. Start taking deeper breaths, filling your belly with oxygen, with air, and then fully exhaling through your mouth. You to do again. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. I want to ask for you to keep your eyes closed until I ask you to open them again. And with your hand on your heart and with your hand on your belly, I want you to draw attention to your current life right now. Think about your life. And specifically, I want you to think about what is it that you want that you don't currently have in your life or in your leadership. What do you want that you don't currently have? If that feels sticky to you, maybe another question you could ask yourself is, what's not working for me right now? And I want you to listen to what comes up in you. Maybe there's something physically that's not working. Maybe you're feeling stuck or like you're settling. You've got the status quo going on. Maybe other people's expectations or demands on you, like you've had enough and you want something that's more for you. Maybe you want to live your life and do work that feels more aligned to your values, to your dreams, your goals, longer term. Maybe you want work that isn't sucking the life out of you. Work that feels meaningful and productive and important. Maybe you're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't want that anymore. It's not working. And I want you to listen, and I want you to be specific as you possibly can. What is not working for you? What do you want that you don't currently have? And with whatever is coming up for you, pay attention to how your body feels right now. What's happening in your body? Any sensations? Anything, any area of your body that you're drawing attention to? As you answer this question about what do you want that you don't currently have and what's not working, what feelings are coming up on you? Can you name 2 or 3 feelings that you have about the answer to those questions? Is there a thought that is kind of dominant for you? Something your mind keeps swirling back to as you think about what's not working, as you think about what it is that you want. And then the last question that I have for you is, what is it costing you emotionally, physically, mentally, relationally, financially, spiritually, to not move forward with that? What's it costing you? As you feel and think and connect to all of that, what I want to say to you tonight is that you weren't created to settle for a life that isn't full. You're created to be a warrior, and you were created for wholeness. And so whatever is coming up in your body and your emotions and your thoughts around what it is that you want that you don't currently have and what's not working for anymore, that's what I want you to pay attention to tonight. That's probably what's drawing you into this space, what's sparking your curiosity about coaching. And so now I want you to imagine what your life could look like in 6 months. What could be possible if you lived with discipline and focus for the next 6 months? Is what you want possible? Is your life working for you better? Imagine that out. Play it out. All right, you may gently open your eyes again. Maybe you need to move your body a little bit from that experience, but I want you to take maybe just 60 seconds to capture as best you can what it is that you specified that you want that you don't currently have, or what's not working for you that you want. If you could write that down, and I'm going to ask Stephanie in just a second to share a little bit about her own story, her own experience with coaching and being a part of this community. So go ahead and write down your thoughts. You can actually add them to the chat if you would rather, if you'd like to do that. That's a specific, courageous, brave act, but would love to see what comes up for you. Karen, I love that you added it to the chat. Confidence in the plan God has for my life. Ooh, I love the word confidence. Comes up a lot. Thanks for sharing. Feel free to follow Carrie Ann's example. Throw your desire, throw your wants, or what's not working in your confidence. Feel free to throw that in the chat. But Steph, I would love for you to share a little bit of your story. Stephanie and I have known each other for a number of years now. And like I said, she's our director of coaching, but she's become our director of coaching because of her experience in coaching, her experience being coached and in coaching others. So Steph, can you tell us a little bit about just what your journey has looked like from when you said yes to being in coaching and what happened for you in that group?
Should I start with when I said no?
Yeah, start there. Of course. Vulnerability.
Yeah, when she texted me tonight, hello everyone, so good to be with you. When she texted me tonight, would I be willing to share some of my story? Of course I said yes, but then I decided instead of just spouting whatever came to my mind, I really kind of closed my eyes for about 5 minutes and was trying to recall how I felt 5 years ago. And I almost started crying with the pain that started to resurface. Even in my talking, you can kind of hear my voice start to shake a little bit. But man, I was just so hurting and lost. I had moved my whole family here for a job that ended up like sucking the soul out of me. I was told I was pretty smart for a woman. Repeatedly, I was the only female on the staff, and it paid well. So I thought, it's worth it, because I can provide and do what I need to do. But I came to the end of my rope, and I felt like I was in my midlife crisis, so to say, of do I even want to do this anymore? And I've been in family ministry. Now it'll be 20 years. But 5 years ago, 15, I just was thinking, what will I do? Like, this is all I've done. And so I just kind of started spiraling a little bit. And living in Los Angeles is really challenging. I had 2 full-time jobs and I was hustling all the time. So I was working at a local church organization and then a parachurch organization. And in both of these jobs, I felt not seen, not known, not cared for, not supported, not developed. And I just stayed there for so long. And when I went to our HR and was saying some of the things that the men on staff were telling me, they told me, we're not going to change, so you need to probably just go. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I just invested so much of my life in your guys' organization and I was disposable and you didn't care at all. So that was kind of the framework I was in, and I was looking, I'm like searching, Googling, and just like thinking, okay, Is it therapy I need? Is it spiritual direction that I need? What do I need? And so I started chipping away at it. And I started with therapy. I tried a couple different therapists, and I was realizing that was helping stir up things from my past, but I really needed to focus on my future and where I wanted to be and where I wanted to go versus what had happened. And that wasn't happening in therapy for me. And then spiritual direction was wonderful as well, but it was very different and more just like, where's God in all of this and what? And I was spiraling, and I actually signed up for a different coaching. And when I got into it, I was looking at the flow of it, and I was like, no, I don't want this. It was literally a cookie cutter. It didn't have anything to do with me. It was like, your 10 best tips to be, the strongest leader you can be. And it was led by a man. And I literally remember just sitting in there, and I just wrote, like, I had started it and I said, this is not what I need, and this is not what I expect. I'm out. And I walked away from the $200 that I had invested in it. And then April texted me on Facebook and was like, hey, I'm doing this coaching group and I'd love you to be a part
It
of
did
it.
not sound like that.
And I was like, oh my God. No, I'm just kidding. You can't hear voice on Facebook, but for me, that's how it sounded, right? I was in that obnoxious state, and I'm like, who's this chick coming just saying, do I want to do coaching? And I was like, no. I do not want to do coaching. I do not need another cookie cutter thing. And it was very interesting. We kind of went back and forth for a while. And it was very hard for me to understand that I had permission to work on myself. I was like, wait, that the whole process is me just getting to kind of choose my growth and lean in and invest in that. And she's like, yeah, and we'll give you a framework, and it's all about your whole story matters. And to me, that was the hook, because I had been wrestling with my whole story. And so I said yes. I did not have the finances. Obviously I was like quitting a job, and like I wanted to quit, but I was too scared. So I was actually on the fence, but I knew I was going to be quitting. So I'm like, this makes no sense. I could be down to one smaller income. Ministry doesn't pay the greatest, just saying that. And I took a chance and I put it on my credit card, and it was the biggest exhale I've ever taken in my life. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time I have, but all I know very little, sorry. I had to do the build up. But all I know is that so the first part of our coaching, we were actually at one of the retreats, which is similar to what we're going to be crafting again in September. And I literally am in a room of strangers, but each of us women, we came into this space in solidarity of that we wanted more for ourselves, we wanted more for each other, and we were willing to cheer each other on and champion one another. And I did probably the most inner healing and deep work that I had ever done in my whole life in those 6 months. One of the biggest things was stepping away from that job and not being afraid. And I not only stepped away from that job, I ended up stepping away from the other job as well. So both jobs that didn't serve me well, I worked really hard to step away from that, and I feel amazing. Another one for me is I was adopted, and my name was Brandy Avalos, and I realized I didn't know her. I didn't know her story. And so part of my coaching was spending time on exploring that and figuring out more of my adoption story. And I found all my siblings and a mom, and I just met my biological sister last year. So it started a process within me that literally every cycle that I have either coached women since, I continue the cycle. So when we do a new wholeness assessment, wholeness focus, I stay committed to, and I am completely a different woman. And so one of my goals at the end of coaching was to become a coach, because how I felt so empowered and unleashed and unlocked and free to fully be me, and realize that I'm not the problem. that I'm okay to be who I am, but I can find places that I belong and where it serves me well. Um, and then I became a coach, and so now I've been coaching every year since Azer's been going. But I just have to say, and then I'll be quiet, but during the coaching or during that breathing exercise, I was literally sitting here trying to think, what do I want next? And I was actually finding hard to think of what I wanted next, because I feel like I'm doing all the things that I love. And I took a really big risk just this last month when we were on the physical wholeness, and I had a surgery that I have put off for 10 years. And something about my body that I used to say was that I'm damaged goods. I don't know if any of you ladies have ever felt that way. But I took a chance and I had a surgery, and I'm sitting here in this really uncomfortable girdle that I can hardly breathe because it's holding all my guts inside. But I was thinking, I'm so proud that, at year almost 5 with you all, or with Azer, that I'm continuing to fight for my wholeness. And I've moved past so much of my limited beliefs and thinking of what could be possible. And I've leaned fully into it. Not that I'm perfect, but I literally make new goals every single month and I don't quit. And my life feels full and it continues to blossom.
I adore you,
Here.
and you freaking practice what we preach. You are doing the work, and it's amazing. It's why it's why you are where you are with us today. And I trust you implicitly, with the women that are in our community too. So in that note, I want to actually share with you all a little bit of behind the scenes. I promised you all an inside look. And so I'm going to, hopefully technology works okay. Can you all see my screen? Is it a whole screen? Because it's kind of blocking. Okay, thank you. Thanks. I saw Bree's thumbs up, so I'm going to go with that one. So I want to give you an inside look of what Stephanie kind of described for herself experientially that she went through. And now that you get an opportunity to. So first and foremost, do we work? Do we work here? How does this? There we go. I had seen Jesselyn's question in the chat about why warrior women, and it's actually connected to our name. Warrior women is taken from the word Azer, which is the name of our company. And it's a word that's used, it's a Hebrew word that's used to describe woman in the Old Testament. And that word Azer is used 21 times in the Old Testament, twice to describe woman in Genesis 2, and 16 times to describe God. And I learned from a very young age, both in faith spaces and in cultural spaces, that women were less than, that we were not equal to, that there was, that our role was to be supportive of all that men did. And, if there was anything left over, that we could pursue dreams and goals and the things that we wanted. But really that word Azer, while translated as helper, a lot of times in the Old Testament, it is most often translated as warrior, as rescuer, as strong deliverer, as face-to-face deliverer. And I was like, that's it. Like, we need to reclaim who we are. And in the reclaiming of being a warrior woman, the invitation is to wholeness. That is how we have been created, is for fullness of life. And so we define wholeness as the lifelong journey of increasingly integrating every dimension of your life and fully living out your potential. Every word is chock full of meaning. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here other than to say wholeness is not a destination or a goal. Wholeness is the journey. And we are committed in our groups and in this community of warrior women to stand with you in this lifelong journey, because there's a whole lot of stuff out there that is going to tell us what our place is and what our position should be and what we are here for. And we say no to a whole lot of that because it does not align with increasingly integrating our whole story, our whole life, and fully living out our potential, despite what anyone says. And so that is where we're at. That is what we go for. And we do that. How do we do this? How do I move forward? We do that through the 6 different wholeness dimensions. I told you that I took this from my very first coach, Jack Grapple, 20 years ago, and he helped us to rework what this looks like for women in both life and leadership. And so we have defined wholeness in these 6 different interconnected dimensions. It starts with physical, because wholeness literally begins in your body. That has been really fresh for me in the last 2 weeks, that I have spent the majority of it in my bed, flat on my back, unable to function. That if we don't have wholeness in our bodies, it makes everything else much more difficult. So we start the journey by paying attention to our sleep and our nutrition and our movement patterns. And we go deep every single month into each of these wholeness dimensions. So it starts with physical, we move to emotional, because it is our heart that actually activates most of our behavior. And so we pay attention to what is going on emotionally in our feelings, not as good or bad, right or wrong, positive or negative, but in what our emotions are revealing that can guide us into behaviors and practices that will serve us toward achieving our top goal. We move into month 3 with mental wholeness, and there's a whole lot that goes into mental wholeness, but we focus most specifically around our beliefs and creativity and focus. How is it that we can use our thoughts as a driver to move us more into who we've been made to be and what it is that we want to achieve? Month 4, we focus on relational wholeness. And this is really all about the 5 people that are closest to you that will determine your life. We talk about it as the sisterhood and the partnerships that both anchor you and help you to fly. So everything we do in month 4 is aligned to how we can increase those kinds of relationships so that we can experience more. Month 5 is spiritual. I will say that with our spiritual wholeness month, it is really important to us that no matter where you are on a spiritual journey, no matter what your faith looks like, there is space for you here. We have had women of multiple faith backgrounds, so many different kinds of beliefs, people that are deconstructing childhood faith and re-exploring what it could look like. This is not a specific month around theologies or doctrines, other than you are created for your whole self. And so the values and the beliefs that you have, how are they serving you and aligned with who it is that you want to become and what it is that you want to achieve. And then the very last month is on renewal. And oftentimes renewal feels like the exact right timing, because coaching is a sprint and there is hard work that is done. There are new things that you are starting. There's things that you're stopping. There's experiments that you are doing. And so at the end of this coaching journey, there is a sense of like, I've done it. I've done a lot of hard work, and like, I need a space to recover my life. And so the month of renewal is all about how do we reduce stress to avoid burnout, and how do we expand our energy. And so everything that we do in that month kind of takes us there. In every single month, how the brilliance, the genius of how we have structured the 6-month journey is that every single dimension, it is either supporting or taking you away from what it is that you actually want to achieve in your life and in your leadership. And so you determine at the very beginning of this journey, what is the one thing that you want to achieve? What is your top goal that you will achieve in the 6 months that you are in this experience? And each of these 6 different dimensions is going to actively promote you being able to achieve that. We were created for wholeness. We were created to integrate every single dimension of our life and of our leadership. And so you may have this top goal that may feel very disconnected from one of these dimensions, but it is absolutely connected and important for you to be able to achieve that top goal. So here's my question. Here's my pop quiz. And I'm going to bust my chat back open. Out of these 6 different dimensions, you can see here, physical, emotional, mental, relational, spiritual, and renewal. What would you say are the 2 dimensions that women score themselves the lowest on? So this is self-reporting. Based on our wholeness assessments, what are the 2 dimensions you would say are lowest for women? Drop in the chat. What do you think? Caitlin says physical and mental. Carry on emotional, relational. Any other guesses? It's hard with the chat because I can't see it like a text bubble on my phone. Like, is somebody adding? All right, Carmen says emotional and mental. Jesslyn says physical and mental. So Jesslyn and Caitlin are on the same page here. And then Carmen says mental. A lot of mental. Actually, some of our groups right now are in the mental wholeness month. So they could tell you if they're struggling or not with it. But we have had over 170 women participate, complete our wholeness assessment, which has been created and reviewed by some of the best therapists, neuroscientists, coaches on the planet. And the results from that assessment show that the two lowest dimensions for women across the board are physical and renewal. They kind of toggle between the two, but those tend to be the two that are longest or the lowest. So it's actually strategic and really mindful on our end to start with physical and to end with renewal, because those are places where we tend to struggle the most in our wholeness journey. And so we want to bookend, we want to anchor this 6-month journey around what is most difficult and buffer it in the middle, because it actually, we start with these habits and practices that are most important for the sustaining of our life, and end it with the same. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and get back to my notes here. I want to make sure that we answer a couple of questions. So Steph, if you could kind of get those ready to go. And I want to say just a couple of thoughts around who our coaching groups are for and who they are not for. And then Steph, I'm going to ask you to kind of pipe in and share what these questions are. So one of the questions we get a lot is, who is coaching for? Like, is this for me or is it not? I will honestly say coaching is not for everyone. Sometimes therapy is best. If you're looking for a guide in your life and in your leadership, sometimes therapy is the best thing. But we have found in the 11 plus years that I've been doing this and the 4 years that I've been doing it with Azar & Co, that our coaching groups specifically are for women who are committed to doing the work and who want to move into a different way of life. So they are willing to start new things, stop old things that aren't working no more, tweak, experiment. It is women who are more committed to finding a way than finding an excuse. Women who go, I don't want to tolerate or settle for this life that I've got anymore. It's women who say, I've got a dream or a goal that I want to pursue, and it's worth it to me. Even if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to pursue this. Our coaching groups are for women who know that like they are not living at 100%, that there is more for them. So there's a lot that I could say. And actually Michelle and Priscilla and Stephanie have all gone through our coaching groups as participants before they have become a coach. And part of what they have said yes to is also to practice what we preach, like that we are actively in our own wholeness journey. And so it is for women who are like, you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happens. I am responsible to steward this one life that I've been given in all of its fullness. So that is kind of my quick summary around who this is for. I think if you're somebody who is looking to just learn something, if you're somebody who is looking for content, this isn't for you. Coaching is about action, and it's about doing things that are different than what your current results are. And so you can Google, if you want to learn something, Google, that's free. You know, you don't need me. You don't need anybody here. Like, I would also say, like, it's not for you. If you can define a goal for yourself or a dream and you're like, I got this, I can do it on my own. You don't need a coaching group. Like, why would you say yes to a group if you could just do it on your own? This is for something that's like, oh my gosh, there's something that is bigger than me. And there's something that I want to invite other people to stand in solidarity with me and to do this work alongside of me. So that is my who this is for, who this is not for. I hope that is helpful to help you see where you are, if that is defined, how that defines you. So let me answer a couple of questions right now before we run out of time. Steph, what have I not answered so far that I need to? And this would be a great time if y'all have any questions that have bubbled up to add those to the chat, and we will still get to them.
Yes. Jocelyn asked, is it neurodivergent friendly, meaning maximizing the neurodivergent strength versus trying to become neurotypical?
Yes, yes, I would say we're totally neurodivergent friendly because me. And there are several coaches on our team that have some neurodivergency. So yes, what was really important to me in creating this framework is that it was both unique and universal. That there would be things that it's for every single woman. Actually had a board member say that to me in our very first year. She said, April, if Azer & Co isn't for everyone, then it is not for any woman. And so that was really important to me in every single way. How do we make this as diverse and inclusive as humanly possible? Do we have blind spots? I'm sure we do. Are we working on them? Do we have people that call that? Absolutely. But yes, it is really important to us on every level to be diverse and inclusive. So it's the universal and the unique that I think makes our groups really distinctive. There's a structure and a process, but there's a lot of freedom within that in order for you to be able to determine what it is that you need to do. One of the things that I just told our coaches last night is that we are never the expert in your life. I don't know what you need to do. I'm certainly sure as hell not going to tell you what to do with your life. Because then if you do what I tell you to do and it doesn't work, guess who you blame? You get to be the agent of your life. You get to make those decisions. You get to be the one that says, this is what I think I need to do. And we hold up the mirror to you in that. And we help you to discern and we help you to clarify the steps that you need to take. So I think that was probably more than what you bargained for, Jesslyn, in your question. But that's all really important to us because we have a very diverse community in a number of ways. And so we want to make sure that there's space for all women.
All right. The next question was, how does it work? But that was asked before you kind of did your framework. So I circled back with Carmen. And if you're okay, I'll answer this question.
Oh.
So her question was, do you create your own schedule or are there set times? And that is a great question. So it is broken down week by week by week. And so during week 1, just like tonight, we'd be all together with all coachees and all coaches for an hour and a half. So that's your first week of the month. The second week, it's our goal that you schedule your one-on-one with your coach. And so that would be an hour. And then week 3 is a smaller group. So we have executive coaching groups and we have regular warrior women groups. And so in the week 1, we're all together. And then depending upon which group you are in, because there's multiple groups happening at the same time, you'll kind of be with your closer circle for week 3. That's another hour and a half. And then on the week 4, you have an optional Q&A that you have the opportunity to join and kind of refine everything that you learned through week 1 through 3. So the time commitment is flexible. And then of course, you got to do the work. So, you make your goals and you set to do it. If your physical goal is, I'm going to work out an hour a week. Well, guess what? You're now working out an hour a week and doing all these goals. So it could be this, or it could be expanded. But on ballpark, and April, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's between 6 to 10 hours a month.
I would say somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes per week is like predefined time. Mm-hmm. It's like what we have set aside, but what we have experienced hands down across the board, almost without exception, is that the amount of time that's invested actually opens up so much more because you stop doing stuff that no longer is working. You end up creating more time for yourself. You're more alert to like what matters most to you and how it is that you want to invest your time. And so we provide that structure in every single week, and I added to the chat kind of what that weekly rhythm looks like every month. We provide that structure, but it also then you create what it is that you need, what you want that aligns with your top goal in order to make that happen. So Sometimes women end up doing a ton because they realize how much they want to shift over in order for them to achieve that big thing that they want. So does that help, Carrie Ann or Carmen? I'm sorry, I don't remember who asked the question. Yeah, so that is the monthly rhythm that we carry. May coaching groups, we are going to be on week 1 and week 3 are Thursdays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I should probably add that too to the chat. Thursdays, thank you, Steph. Thursdays, 4 to 5:30 p.m. for week 1 and week 3. Week 2 is totally up to your discretion with your coach when you want to schedule it. And the live Q&A is the last Tuesday of the month. So all of that is on the website, and you can access that for sure. Any other questions that came in on the chat?
That was it. And
Okay.
I would say on your one-on-one coaching, we strive to kind of keep it at the same time and day. So that's helpful for everyone to remember for the 6 months, but we can flex as needed too.
Yes, and we start in May. So registration closes on Monday. So tonight is kind of the big impetus to help you make a decision of whether this is a yes or a no for you. So we start May 1st is the official start date where we get ready to go. Cue Justin Timberlake. It's gonna be May. I'm a 90s girl. Can you tell? So I do want to go back to my amazing slides that I wrote, because I have a couple of women who I want to share some things that they have said. Oh, I do not do this technological thing super well all the time. Okay, wait. There, April. Okay, so I want to share a couple of things because it's the magic is in the women, right? And every single woman who does a coaching group comes in with radically different goals and radically different things that they want. And that's, again, partially by design. So I want to share a couple of women from our executive group and a couple of women from our Warrior Women group. Abir was in a coaching group last year, actually in Michelle's group. And Abir said, so the end of these last 6 months has felt so easy because of the shifts I have made in this journey. I'm where I'm supposed to be, not where anyone else wants me to be. I'm more confident in my life. And my brag on this woman is that she just accepted a position in the NFL, and she is one of a handful, literally a handful of women in director positions in the NFL. And she texted me right after she accepted that job. And she said, there is no way I would have gone for this job and would have had the confidence to apply for an NFL position. That's National Football League if you're not into the sports like I am. But like, she is not only one of the few women, but like one of the like couple of women of color in a position like this. So freaking proud of her. She slayed it, and the woman's 30 years old. Akila is another woman who just wrapped up her coaching group last month, actually, and she is a doctor. Her name's Dr. Akila Lagande, and she said, achieving my goal wasn't thought it would be, it was more. And what I love about this woman is she's incredibly accomplished. She has achieved a whole lot in her 40-something years on earth. But what is powerful and profound to me is that her goal was to, let me see if I can remember it correctly. Her goal was to explore the synergy between my body and spirit so that I can live more wholly. And so instead of like setting aside some big like financial goal or another educational thing, like she went back to her body because she knows that our wholeness begins there, and wanted to explore the synergy between her body and her spirit through meditation and through yoga. Those are the two things. So really incredible. These are a couple of women from a couple of years ago. Amy Puzantian is a woman that I've known for a really long time. And she said, I knew something was missing, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. I was just out of ideas on how to change my life. I have a totally new perspective on life and have gained new tools for the journey ahead. Most importantly, the ability to explore and grow beyond the places I was stuck and discouraged. And then Margaret is another woman who said, I didn't even know what I needed, but somehow I knew I needed this experience to help me figure out my next step forward. And the reason I wanted to share these two women is because it is a very common experience for somebody to say, I wasn't exactly sure how to describe it or define it. I just felt it, that there was something else, that there was something more. And I knew I needed to honor that and to say yes to myself. And so if that sounds also like you, it's not a reason to say no. It's actually a reason to lean in a little bit more and explore what else could be possible for you. So those are just a couple of women that we've had the privilege of walking with in the last several years. And so I want to wrap by just calling you back to what it is that you said, that you experienced in that centering exercise around what it is that you want that you don't currently have. And I want to call you back to what is not working for you. And I want to invite you to imagine once again what could be possible if you live with focus and discipline for these next 6 months. Because I will guarantee you that if you commit to yourself and you commit to doing the work, that what you imagine is possible. And you can achieve some results that you've never experienced before. There's a woman who just finished a coaching group with us who will remain nameless because she hasn't given me expressed permission to share this story. But she started because she felt like there was something more. She wasn't sure what it was, but she decided in the beginning of her coaching group that her goal was to start or to host a women's conference. That was her top goal. So for the first 6 weeks, we started working towards that. What would it look like for her to do a women's conference? She was super psyched on it. And in the beginning of her emotional journey, emotional wholeness month, she had a breakthrough moment where she realized that she was actually really held back because of some beliefs that she had around money and her own personal financial literacy. And in the span of those next 4.5 months, this woman paid off over $80,000 of debt, of consumer debt, of tax debt, and made some significant shifts in her work that ended up generating a bunch more income. I know that that is not possible, that is not every woman's story. That's not something that every woman would go for. But I share that because sometimes we say yes because of an initial idea of something, and then something even more comes up for us. And this woman has changed not only her future, but she's changed her legacy. She has changed for generations to come because of what has happened for her financially. So I want to invite you into something like that, whatever it is for your life, for your leadership. I want to invite you to say yes to it. There's 3 actions you can take tonight because coaching is action oriented. I'm going to ask you to take one of 3 action steps tonight. 1, register for a group. Just say yes. If there's something in you that's like, I don't know what this means. I don't know. I want you to trust yourself. I want you to trust your gut. I want you to trust us and say yes. And I promise you that as you rise up to yourself, we will meet you there and we will walk with you and we will be faithful to help you achieve what matters most to you in these next 6 months. So I think somebody could probably drop links in the chat, but we have 2 different groups. We have the Warrior Women group and we have the executive group. They're the exact same, other than the executive coaching group I coach, and it is only for women that are in executive positions or who own their own business. So that's the distinction between those 2 groups. We are closing registration on Monday, the 17th, which is 5 days from now, 6 days from now. But I would tell you register tonight because it will get you on the path. And I know that sometimes when you sit on things for a hot second too long, we talk ourselves out of possibility as quickly as we can talk ourselves into it. So if it's a yes for you, make the commitment tonight. Second action step you can take tonight is to schedule an activation call. That can be a coaching call with anybody that's on our team. I will actually drop the link to schedule that call in the chat. And all of our coaches are on our appointments page. And you can schedule an activation call. This would be a space, 30 minutes for you to ask any specific questions, to iron out all of the details, to give you peace of mind to whether or not this would be the best yes for you. So that would be your second action step, is to schedule an activation call with one of us in the next couple of days because registration closes in 6. Third action step is actually no step at all. It would be, I'm going back to my regularly scheduled program. Tonight was great. April, your hair looks really cute. I really like Stephanie's hat. Body parts were fun to share, but like nope, not going to do it, not into it, this is not for me. And you can continue on your current pathway, and however we can stand in solidarity with you and your journey, we'll still be here. So those are your 3 options. Register now, register tonight, schedule an activation coaching call, or no step at all. I would love to see in the chat, what's your action step? Which one are you going to take? 1, 2, 3. And we are over time. My apologies. I'm actually also going to drop the actual landing or the websites for the 2 individual groups if you want to learn more. Step 0.5. Think about it more deeply. So maybe it's a 2, Carrie Ann. Maybe it's a scheduling and activation call. You're at a 0.5. I love it. Create your own action step is what you just did, which honestly you get to do all throughout your 6 months, because we don't give you your 3 action steps. You create them on your own. So, all right, only Carrie Ann is going to contribute to which action step is going to be taken.
I was going to say, this is part of coaching, is being okay with who you are and where you're at and owning your truth. And so I just want to encourage you, even if it is a no, like, you're not going to be shamed here, but be confident in your answers.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see each of you post. So thank you, Carrie Ann, for stepping out and making your own, because there's no pressure and it's okay.
All right, Bree, schedule it with me. Let's do it. I will say this as we wrap. Our commitment to you is for you to live and lead with wholeness, for you to say yes to your whole self. And our commitment is to be the best possible guide that we can be so that you can achieve what matters most to you. And we will do that. We have done this. We will continue to. And we want for that journey to begin as soon as possible, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed 5 years from now. And the regrets that most people have is that I didn't start sooner, that I didn't say yes to myself, my whole self, in the beginning, as soon as I was able to. And so we promise and commit to walk with you, so that you can become more of who you've been created to be, despite fears, despite insecurities, despite the lack of confidence you might have. Like, we can help move you through that. So if you have any questions beyond tonight, feel free to connect with one of us coaches. Obviously that link is in the chat as well. But I will stick around if you want to ask anything else as we wrap up. But thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for even some of the grace around the lack of what I could do for tonight in my own limitations. But we're really grateful that you said yes to being here with us tonight. And we hold that as a very treasured privilege, for real. So you are loved, warrior. Go in peace and power. And we hope to see you in May.